So tonight I want to talk a little bit about the sitting instructions that I wrote and sent to you as a way of launching into um, kind of my hope for this offering in terms of you and your practicing. Okay? I'm just going to turn off the chat for a moment. So I sent you this document in the email, and if you're not on the email list, you can get on it at the website sundaysangha.net. And we also posted it there. There's a resources section, and we posted this little write-up. And as I'm always talking about in here, the important thing in terms of, I think the thing that I can offer, right? There's so many things you can learn and develop, and so many different modalities and ways of approaching the mind and the body and life. And and so many good and interesting approaches out there. And I feel like the thing that I want to offer here primarily is to support you in developing a robust practice of awareness. And in that document I sent, and you don't have to read it yet, but I would encourage you to look at it at some point. And it's really focused on the sitting meditation for now, with a little section at the end about living with awareness. But I'm going to expand it to include other modes of practicing. But in it, I talk about 3 modes for the sitting meditation. Okay? So the first mode in there is just the simple breath awareness. Okay? And that mode, I'm calling it in the document just as a way of simplifying the message. I'm calling that first mode mountain. Because in this first mode or phase of practice, what you're learning how to do is you're learning how to have your own attention or presence land here and start to abide. I've said this so many times, right? The attention is always being carried off by every little reaction and thought that comes along. And as you come back to the breathing body again and again, you start to abide here, present with the breathing. So I'm here with the breathing, present with the breathing. So as you are present more continuously with the breathing, it's easy for people to think about the object. Oh, breathing is more present. In a sense, it is. Breathing is the object of attention. But the presence is more present. That's why the breathing is appearing more consistently. So I'm calling that phase mountain because that's how we develop the kind of stability in presence. A little bit, we're starting to develop a bit of stability. Okay, I use this gesture a lot because I think it kind of just demonstrates that a little bit, the continuity of the knowing or the presence. Okay. And then the second phase in the instructions I'm calling mountain and sky. Because as the presence gets a little more stable, it naturally starts to become a bit more panoramic in the sense that you still have the breathing or the sense of the whole body sitting as like an anchor. But because it's more comfortable, because you're more comfortable in being here, you naturally can include more. So awareness just naturally starts including other phenomena. It's sort of like when anything you're learning, when you're first learning it, you're so occupied with one part of it that you can't hold the rest of it. Like driving is a great example. You know, you're steering and you forget to shift, or you're shifting and you forget to look at the road. So as we get more stably present with breathing, we naturally start to include more of what's appearing in awareness. So in that metaphor, the body is sitting like a mountain, stable, present, and awareness is like the sky in which everything is appearing around the mountain. Of course, these metaphors are not perfect. You know, they're imperfect and incomplete. Because of course you're a breathing, living mountain. You're not a kind of a static rock. Yeah, there's so much weather happening in the body, right? So it's an imperfect metaphor. But the sky aspect just highlights the space of awareness in which not only the body and what's appearing in the body is happening, but also all the, mind and all the weather patterns of mood and emotion, including sounds, and including, of course, when the eyes are open, everything that appears through seeing. So that first phase or mode of practice is more concentrated with the breathing and the sense of the body sitting. Could even be with hearing, but I'm calling that mountain, just so that you know when you're in that mode, you're cultivating that stability. The second phase, mountain and sky, where there's that stability of the mountain and the space of awareness in which everything is happening. Yeah. So sometimes we call that the breath is the anchor. The body is like an anchor, and yet you're open to the flow of experience. And then the third mode I've been calling, I called in that write-up, beyond mountain and sky. Because again, that's where even that metaphor starts to break down, and you let go of the breath or the body as like a kind of anchor, an object to kind of support the awareness. Because at that point, in a sense, or in those moments, awareness is just the space in which awareness is, in a sense, the ground. Awareness itself, the ground, and then whatever's appearing is just appearing. You don't need an anchor in anything, in any object. Right? So those are three phases. And usually we think of phases as, or modes, we're calling them. We think of them as linear, and they can be in a sense. But these modes are also interchangeable in the sense, not interchangeable, it's the wrong word. You can move between them. So sometimes you'll naturally have a more open awareness. You're just resting here. You don't need a support or an anchor. And sometimes after that, you're resting in awareness and it starts to get caught up in stuff, or you start to get lost, you start to get tired then you could go back to the support of the breathing, or something really difficult is arising and you need a little bit of backup or support. So you go back to the breathing and you're breathing with what's appearing. So you go back to mode 2. Yeah. Sometimes you get exhausted and you just need to regroup. You might return to mode 1 and regroup a bit. Just with the breathing, resting with the breathing, resting the mind, and that kind of unity or concentration. And from that place of rest, then you might naturally, space might open up. You might naturally start just attending to the flow of experience in a more spacious way. So I think sometimes it is helpful to have the instructions simply in a way that you can just reference on your own. So you have that now. As I said, awareness, you say, you are aware, then this is an important point. You are aware with the breathing in mode 1. So there's awareness is what's getting stable. You're getting stable in presence or awareness with the breathing. And as there's more space, more stability, and one naturally can attend to other phenomena, then there's awareness with this phenomena appearing. And when you let go of any other kind of need for an anchor, you're really anchoring in awareness itself. Anchoring is the wrong word because it's like a location, but you're resting as the space of awareness. Everything's moving through. So I want you to encourage you to play with that, to play with moving between these modes. And a lot of the art of meditation is just learning how to navigate with your own experience, how to find your way in this space. And all of the learning unfolds from this. Another way of talking about meditation practice is in 2 phases. Call it shamatha vipassana or samatha vipassana. And that's calming or stability and insight or clear seeing. Yeah. These actually come together, right? And they exist together, but it's helpful sometimes to separate them. So in that way of framing the instructions, which of course they're written in my words, right? But I didn't invent this kind of practice. This is faithful to the instructions in the 4 foundations of mindfulness and the Anapanasati Sutta. Of course, I am influenced by, my godfather, Larry, has a 3-phase way of talking about practice, which very much affected me. This 2-phase way of talking about practice was taught by his teacher, Ajahn Buddhadasa, and is very, it's all part of the tradition, right? And it's just each of us language it a little bit differently. But just so you know, this isn't some new kind of meditation. This is the basics of mindfulness meditation, or that the simple practice that comes out of early Buddhism. Okay, so we talk about shamatha vipassana or samatha vipassana, calming or stability, and insight or clear seeing. So it's just as we become more stably present, as awareness becomes stable, it just becomes easy. It's naturally easier to see much more clearly, not only into the content of what's appearing, but into the process, like how it is happening, how thoughts and feelings and a sense of self come into being, and also into the nature, not only of the phenomena, like what is the nature of a thought? How, what is a thought experientially? What can you observe, right? Feelings, sensations, reaction, all of this stuff you get to see into its nature, and also start to begin to explore the nature of the subject, right? Of you, the you who's practicing. What is this subject, this awareness that's aware of all of the different modes? Yeah. What even knows the choosing of mode? A few weeks ago, I sent you the Satipatthana Sutta, the discourse on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And maybe some of you looked at it or read my little short write-up about it. So in that discourse, of course, it's an instruction on how to be mindful with basically all of life, with a simple way of categorizing experience: body, feeling tone, pleasant and unpleasant and neutral, mind states, and then another way of framing kind of other teachings from the Buddha. What is the piece that's continuous in each of the sections of that discourse? Words like one knows, knows the body in the body, knows the breathing. When breathing long, one knows I'm breathing long. When breathing short, one knows I'm breathing short. When walking, one understands or knows I'm walking. When sitting, one knows I'm sitting. So this knowing, as I said before, is not knowing about. It's presence. The knowing, when walking, standing, sitting, lying down, when reaching, when putting on clothing, what have you, all through what we're doing. So when whatever feelings are present, there's the knowing. One knows this is a pleasant feeling. This is an unpleasant feeling. This is neither pleasant or unpleasant. One knows, oh, this is a mind full of lust. Oh, this is a mind full of hate. Oh, this is a spacious mind. Oh, this is a contracted mind. One knows all of the various phenomena. One knows the 6 senses, the world appearing through the 6 senses. That's in the 4th. One knows the different states that are called, that are challenging, called hindrances, or that are different. One knows those states as they're appearing. What is the one thing that's being repeated over and over again here? One knows. It's very easy for us in the meditation to be focused on the object. But what is actually becoming steady and stable and inclusive, what is actually developing here is the relationship with the knowing, with presence itself, with the subject that's knowing all of this, that allows all of this to appear, that which is here through all of it. Now, we don't always notice this because we're not here long enough, because we're lost in our thought world. So all of these methods, including different ways of framing the practice, including this foundation of mindfulness, that all of these methods, none of them are ultimate. They're all skillful means for you inhabiting what you are. For you to be in the one knows I am walking. What is this I am that knows? What is this knowingness in which everything you call me, everything you call not me is happening? So just want to say that so you don't get too attached to anything that I wrote in there, that you don't get too attached to any particular method, and that you understand something, even just intellectually, about the one note at the root of it all, the one continuous note that we want to refer back to again and again, regardless of what's arising, to inhabit, to rest in, to see through again and again, this one note that is here all the time. Okay? Okay. That's all I want to say. In terms of little talk thing. And now I thought for the rest of the time, let me pull up the participants. I thought for the rest of the time, we can dialogue a bit. And I'd like to dialogue with you around where you are meeting this practice. As you're present with whatever it is that's happening, where are you running into confusion? What is hard to practice with? What do you not know how to practice with? Where do these simple instructions get complicated for you? And so that's the use of us being able to dialogue. And also you get to hear each other. And now even see each other. Somewhat. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to... Carole, go ahead. Actually, why don't I just unmute you all? Well, oh no, okay, you unmute yourself. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm going to lower your hand. Are you there, Carole? Can other people hear Carole? No. Carole, we can't hear you. Sorry. I'm going to go on to the next question, but maybe you can see if you can work with your microphone or something. Maybe mute yourself for now. And then, okay. Michael, go ahead. Michael G.
Hey there.
Hey.
How's it going? This is wonderful.
Yeah, hey, nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, I guess, the third phase, open awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Often when experiencing that stage, it feels a little bit like a dog with its head out the window of just so many things arising, and there's no time for language to process it. There's no time for any of that. It's just raw sensory data. And there's often a feeling of wanting to name that, wanting to know it, but from more of like an intellectual side, to be able to name, to feel like there's some bound within it. So I was wondering if you could give any sort of suggestions about relaxing further into that awareness, relaxing further into that sort of like dog with its head out of the window, just smiling at life coming past you. And
wait, are you a happy dog in this thing, or are you
like total joy? It feels easy. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, sometimes like when you're doing open awareness and it's I don't know, intense social anxiety or depression or something like a
Yeah.
blissful emotion, then it
Yeah.
can feel less of a happy dog, but
Yeah.
still, yeah,
Still a lot coming through.
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, you know, I think the thing maybe for you, and we'll go back and forth so you can tell me. There's some part here. It's sort of like you're describing something that sounds really fine to me. So like sometimes, especially as we get a little bit stable, sometimes things start coming very quickly. There are phases where things start to happen very fast. It's almost like the rapidity of the arising start to get, it can be almost overwhelming.
Right.
And so it's not, when you're in that kind of place, it's sort of like every aspect of practice has its own lesson to be learned.
Mm.
And it's almost like you don't know what the lesson is yet for any different thing. Nobody does, so you're learning like, well, what's the lesson here? And I think that there's something implicit in what you're saying, which is just like, there's a part of you that wants to have a handle on it.
Mm.
The dog doesn't need a handle on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I just think that's the thing to notice as another arising. It's not that that's wrong. It's sort of like that's part of your conditioning.
Totally.
Right? It's like, oh, I want to understand this. I want to know what's going on. I want to like put this in a little box and get my head around it. You don't have your head around it.
Mm.
Your head is open. And I think that's probably really good. And that's probably a place of a lot of learning and relaxing. So I would just, it's sort of like include what arises in terms of the conditioning in that space, and then just stay with your head out the window, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it flow. And you'll notice you can let your own psyche teach you about your response, because it'll get tense, or there'll be a problem when you're resisting, or when you're trying to make something happen. And then you can just play with like, what if I didn't need to see what's even happening at all? I just rested here and felt the flow in a vague way, or just messy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Messy. Yeah, that's very helpful.
I see you smiling. So it must, yeah, maybe we got to some of it.
No, yeah. I think, yeah, that same wanting to know is also the part that wants to clean things up, put right angles and like delineate things into categories. And so to let it just be messy in nature, natural. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. Okay. Oh, Carole's got her hand up again. Let's try Carole. Let's see if it works this time.
Okay, let's try it again. What about
good.
now? Yes?
Yeah, yeah.
Yay. Okay, I left and came back. I thought maybe when all else fails, start all over.
Okay.
Before I start, Michael, I just wanted to say I really appreciated your question and really enjoyed it. And thank you, Will, so much for this.
Welcome.
So I have been struggling, and you've spoken to some of this over the last few weeks, where I find my practice deepening more and more because I'm meditating more and more. And so when I'm on the cushion, I'm finding it both, I'm discovering more and more about my practice in a lovely way. I continue to struggle with keeping that state of mindfulness when I'm not on the cushion. And you spoke about this a little bit a few weeks ago. In particular, I was struck by the teaching you did recently on I think you spoke about it as, you didn't talk about it as non-attachment, I think it's non-striving, and how striving is a source of pain. If I got that right. I don't know how to reconcile non-striving and non-attachment with having a vision for something I want to make happen in the world. It sort of feels like, how do I do that without striving?
Mm-hmm. Did I ever say you shouldn't strive? Did I maybe I did.
I never hear you say anything about what one should and should not do. So
Okay,
let me be
okay.
clear.
Then I'm consistent. That's good.
But what I did hear you say, I think it was in the three teach, there was something about threes, and one of them was striving and how striving can cause pain.
Did I say, okay, I'm not sure. I might have said craving.
Maybe. I
Okay.
heard
Yeah.
striving.
All right, yeah.
But it doesn't matter. The words don't matter as much
Words
as
don't
the
matter.
concept, of attachment and
Okay. And so this relates even to this thing of like, you feel stable or you feel kind of present on the cushion and you want to be present
all
moving
the time.
around.
All the time.
Well, that's a very wholesome desire. As long as you don't cling to it.
Maybe it's clinging.
Yeah.
I just saw that, Isabel wrote down, or somebody else just wrote in the chat that it was about clinging, maybe
Clinging.
not
Okay.
striving.
Like you said, the words don't matter. So let me just say a couple things, Carole.
Yeah.
I think this is important. There are operational instructions for the practice, right?
Yeah.
But it's very important not to misunderstand and think that somehow if you're practicing like this, you won't be ambitious. Okay?
Yeah.
If I were to think of top 5 people who I can think of historically as ambitious, I would put the Buddha right up at the top. Right? It's like, I am going to completely realize full awakening in this lifetime. And what he put himself through in the story to do that, it's like, can you think of anything more dedicated, committed, going through tortures, like until he realized that's not the path. But the point is he went through all kinds of incredible tortures, vowing like, I'm not going to get up from this seat until I've seen into the truth. That's pretty intense, So how does that vibe with like non-doing,
Yeah.
So, great aspiration is definitely a part of practice. I mean, it's so hard to do this practice unless you have tremendous resolve. You'll give up, you won't do it. Right? It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to sit with yourself. You don't see a lot of people just volunteering to do that. Right? But so that's important.
Yeah.
However, the key piece is you have this intention to be present when you get up, to be mindful. But when you get up and it feels different, what do you do now? And I'll tell you what you do. You want it to be like it was instead of being present to how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the disease of our conditioning. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you remember the state, but you forget the essence of the instruction. Mm-hmm. And we're so deeply conditioned that way. So the through line is, what's it like to be present with it being a total mess, as you related to Michael's question? No, I don't want to be with it like that. I want to be with it like when I felt like I was sitting on my little quiet cushion and nobody's bothering. Huh?
Being a mountain.
I'm a mountain. No one's messing with it. I feel a little bit of weather, but nobody's bothering me. Okay. I get it. But that ain't the path.
Uh-huh.
So the path is ruthless. How about now? How about now? How about now? Mm-hmm. And it's our idea of how it's supposed to be that gets in the way of us following through on our great aspiration. And that's why clarifying our understanding of practice, which is mostly what this is so important.
Yeah.
Because then once you know how to practice, you're set free. You can then, you understand the right view, right view. That's an old saying,
Yeah.
right? That's a, so does that help? So
Yeah.
anything you're working on, you have both a vision of where you're heading and showing up fully right now, because the whole thing happens from your actions in the present. Doesn't mean you can't hold a great aspiration. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's great to look at how the aspiration can interfere with even the process
Yeah.
sometimes.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, welcome. It's very nice to see you. I'm glad we could figure out how to
Likewise.
unmute. All right.
I don't know.
I did it for you. Okay. Christine, do you want to
Yes. Hi. Hi, Will. Hi, everybody.
hi.
Hi there. Oh, thank you so much. I enjoy your teaching so much. So I'm just going to say how I really feel. I'm not going to be spiritual at the moment. So
That's what we're talking about.
I know. That's why I really like you. You're real. So I have a really good meditation practice, a really good mindfulness practice. And in the last 24 hours, I've been feeling so irritated because this sheltering in, like I'm seeing that this is going to last longer than my little brain will admit to.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's so my expectation is I already did 2 meditations, 1 meditation on my own this morning, another meditation with another group. I went on a 2-hour hike. I was like with nature. I was with friends. I was present. Now here I am again and still irritated. And I feel like I should have enough enlightenment to not feel irritated. And I can't get rid of it. I mean, so how am I supposed to use the practice in this? I mean, these are extraordinary times, right? I mean, I'm not a patient woman on a good day, but I really am patient. But no, really, I've had it. I'm so effing fed up. No,
Yeah.
really, like really.
I believe you.
I
I believe you. And you know what else? You're not alone. I'm sure you're in very good company. You know? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do a show of hands, but I don't all put your hands up because then I won't know who had a question. But I'm sure you're in good company. Okay, and okay, so this is what's happening, right?
Right.
And you are not alone. Believe me. I mean, think about how many people in this group just many times a day you reach your fed up point.
Right. But is the goal of mindfulness to be able to meet your fed up point and then there's some ease, and usually I can do that, but in the last 2 days I have not been able to get there.
You know why?
No.
Because you reached your limit of you can do that only so long.
Yeah, but then what?
Yeah, well, that's where the real stuff begins.
Well, yeah, but what does that mean? Like just sit down again and feel my feelings?
No, well, let's talk about it right now. That's what we're here for, right? This is really important. I'm so glad we're talking about this. Okay? When things are within our comfort zone or within our capacity, we learn this much.
Mm-hmm.
When we actually exceed what we think of as our capacity, that's when real learning begins.
Mm-hmm.
It's the benefit of having your capacity meet its limit. Mm. Like you have these little techniques. You say, oh, I'm good at mindfulness. I kind of like, I can do that thing where I'm present with it and it goes poof. Mm-hmm. How about now? Right? It's like that you can do your little tricks only so long. Mm-hmm. Right? Then you're in the real territory. I mean, it's the real territory before, but now you're in the real territory. Mm-hmm. So what are we going to do now? how am I going to meet this moment right now? And one of the things that is a key here is that, and I'm saying this over and over again, but it's good that we talk about specifics. All you can meet is right now. Your past meditation doesn't save you from right now. I did 2 hours of this. I did a hike. Have you ever had that thing? You have some lovely thing happen and then someone pisses you off and all of a sudden, oh, where's that lovely thing?
Mhm.
It's gone.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you don't get to build up all your lovely things to cancel out this stuff. Now you have to meet your mind when it says, I've had enough. I'm done. But it's not done with you. Right?
Mhm.
And that's really the place of practice. So now I say, now you be present. Now you notice what is actually happening in my body in this moment. What is actually happening in my mind? And I'm going to watch and learn.
Mhm.
You know, what does it mean to reach the limit? Is this the limit? Let me see. What is the limit? What happens right after the limit? Something happens after the limit. What if you
Well,
see what that happens? And then what happens next? So this is ruthless.
yeah, it's
And no amount of being good at it is going to save you, because sure, your capacity is overwhelmed now, but life is full of things that are way beyond what we had in mind,
Mhm.
including, aging and death, right?
Mhm.
For us and for everybody we love and care about, for everybody. That's what we're here in addition to all the beautiful things.
So what do you do when you're in that spot where you just can't do one more second? What do you do, Will, in that spot?
Yeah. Where I can't do one more second.
Yeah.
What do you mean by do one more second?
Well, how do you use your mindfulness
Yeah.
technique?
Yeah. Okay. So it's not, the technique is a limited part of it. Many times a day, I have a thought, this is enough, or, not so much anymore, but I can't do this, or this is too, I just watch the thought. The thought is not true. That's the point.
Oh, oh.
Your capacity, you're not even close to your capacity. I don't even believe you for half a second. You just don't want it to keep happening. You're not even close to your capacity. It's just a thought that arises when things get hard in the moment, and we make a big story about it. Oh my gosh. Not only is it hard right in this moment, it's going to be hard for a week. And then it's going to go on for a year. And then what if it's never the same? Now you've made a real thing. Now, how are you going to be with that? Well, as a next 2 years, you can't really be with it. As a thought happening right now, you can. And then 5 minutes later, when something's on TV or someone calls and you forget about it, where is it now? Well, it's just totally gone experientially, but you don't notice it, because the next time you think about it, you think, oh, yep, still this way. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. It's good. This is important.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Okay. We have Eric's phone. Eric, do you want to?
Hi, Will.
Hey.
Actually,
Oh, hey.
the last question and the question before that almost pinpoint addressed what I was talking about.
Okay.
I mean, basically, I dedicated this week to dedicated practice at home with my soon-to-be ex-wife and child, and it already blew up because of habit patterns, like in relationships and whatnot. And I'm still doing it, but it's like, wow, all of a sudden now it's the hard stuff. Gosh,
Yeah.
I was really looking for that nice, ease into it. And of course I didn't get that. But, tell me that that's not the last question to perfectly address it.
Yeah. But I think it's, all the particulars that are important too. Yeah. It is the same territory, but that is, you know, yeah, it's of course it's the same. And that's, but we all know that. It's like, you know, we know it on some level, but it's really like, so right now, that's what practice is. It's not about the cushion, even though that's so important.
Right.
But yeah, if you do, you know, you sat for 4 hours in the morning and then you and your soon to be ex-wife have a huge blow up, don't be surprised.
Right.
Right. It's like, it doesn't save you from the conditioning, or it's a different. And so, but then your task is like, well, how do I be with this? This is not what I wanted. And
Right.
it's so much of the time, it's not what we wanted. But how beautiful that you want to be, to show up with awareness. It doesn't mean you do anything perfectly.
Right.
But that's so different, you know? And that's even if you feel like, oh, I'm just acting out my conditioning and you're watching it happen, that awareness is present is a different ingredient. And that's the beginning of you really learning. Also, there's a little room there for you to hear something differently from your part, you know, your whoever it is that you're there with.
Right. And I have seen, like, you know, definitely the old habit patterns take different form now. Like, it's not the way that they would have been 3 years ago before my practice. So there is that, but then, you know, there will be that slip where it's like for 1 second, it's like, oh wow, that's 3 year ago me. That's not mindful me. It's like, oh well, work with that, you know.
Yeah. And so that whole setup of 3 year ago me and mindful me,
Yeah.
watch that.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, it's like, oh, right now this is happening. And watch how you
Right.
identify with it and make a story out of it, you know, and you can, that can either get in the way or sometimes it can be helpful, but I think that's really, yeah, just, oh, right now. And like, you know, Christine was, I think, hinting at and saying, it's sort of like, once we set up this kind of spiritual idea, then you kind of create a disconnect. And it's like, there's the spiritual thing, and then there's all of life. And those are not two separate things.
Right.
And that's so important to see. It's like, no, this is practice where it's nitty gritty. You know, that's so important. It has to include all of that. And the not including it, the kind of lifting off into the idea of like, oh no, I'm going to do my spiritual me. You know, that's a made up thing.
Right.
That's like another construct. Just like I'm going to, you know, whatever.
Right.
And there's a part of you that's not constructed.
Yeah.
Your own beingness is not put together. It's not made or built up. It's not a construct.
Right.
And that's what you inhabit anytime you really open to what's here, including like the warts and all moments, right? When you really is like, this is the way it is, that's when you notice being starts to clarify. It's a relationship with truth.
Right.
Yeah. When you're in relationship to what's true, there's a kind of alignment in that clarifies awareness. That doesn't make it easy. Sometimes it's harder because you're noticing the pain in the moment, but you notice that kind of truthfulness clarifies. Oh,
Right.
I'm really angry. Before you were trying to be like mindful me, not that angry, and it's foggy because you're trying to pretend. Oh, but when you are aware with it, oh, there's anger. Or I'm really resentful. As soon as we label those things as unspiritual, we start to make it very, it gets very cloudy in here.
Right. From like a practical standpoint, with, you know, doing a week of dedicated practice, but not having that much time on the cushion, something that I was playing with today that kind of seemed to help was I set up a timer with interval bells for like every 5 minutes, regardless. So that way I can never like go longer than 5 minutes of getting completely lost without some sort of a reminder to come back. Do you think that's a reasonable practice for like living practice?
Yeah, just to say, I think somebody is unmuted. So if whoever that is could, oh, never mind, I can do it. There, I did it. Do I think that's a good idea?
Well, for the like off the cushion in real life to like not let myself get completely too far gone without a little ding that's like, oh, hey, guess what, buddy? Come on back here and
Sure.
notice your feet or, you know, your breath or what have you.
Sure. I mean, I think you can experiment and see what's supportive for you. That sounds
Yeah.
like a fine idea. Anything that reminds you, that's what, sure. Sometimes you carry something in your hand that reminds you, you wear a bracelet, you have your phone remind you. I think that sounds
Right.
skillful. Well, it's
Right on.
good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, yeah.
Hey, good to see you as well.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
There was a comment in the chat that I wanted to reference. Mindful me wanted to punch my roommate's boyfriend in the face today. Mindful you, yes, because you were aware of it. So it's wonderful. Wonderful. And then another comment. It's nice to see people and appreciate them and their questions. Yeah, wonderful. I'm just going down in the order here. Nicholas, do you have a question?
Yes, how you doing? Hey everyone, it's Nikki. My question relates to the third mode.
I can't see you. Do you have your thing on? You don't have to. I just was trying to find you. So.
Oh, I do have it on.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
But it's all good.
Hey, okay.
Trying to understand better the difference between the third mode and getting sucked into a thought world. Because I often find I have like an impulse to come back to my breath or sort of come out of wherever I am. And when I read the description of the third mode, and you've talked about it before, there seems to be a fine line. And so I'm hoping to understand a little bit more about that line.
A fine line between being lost in the content and being aware of it?
Between being lost in the content, maybe I don't fully understand the third mode, which is sort of passing beyond anchoring, and yeah, beyond being lost in the content. The line between being lost in the content and being thriving within the content, yeah.
So okay, so let's just call that a fine line. There's a fine line between, especially with thoughts, right? And it's like maybe it's less fine with other experiences, but maybe you're saying it's a fine line, especially without any kind of anchor. And that's why it's very useful actually to not let go of the anchor too soon. That anchoring is very helpful. You know, you don't need to do that third mode anytime, actually. You know, so it's not like you have to or you should. That might be able to be available more naturally at a certain point or at certain points. But it is a fine line. You know, there are degrees also of lucidity. Okay? So I would just say true, and then I would explore that in your own experience. And
because
with a question like, what is the difference between being lost in it, thinking it, and being aware that I'm thinking it, as like I'm kind of aware that I'm thinking it, and being aware of what's appearing, just like you're aware of seeing me on the screen. Right? Thoughts are objects, you can witness them, but that takes practice. So don't feel like you should rush that. Like this is, I mean, we are ruled by thoughts. Thoughts are so ephemeral. That's why we kind of approach the body first. The body's a little more tangible, and even feeling states, you know, emotions are more tangible. But the thinking mind, I mean, it shapes everything. Wars, ideologies. This is not child's play. This is serious business. All of our sense of who we are as a collective, who we are. It's all in the realm of stories and ideas, concepts. And so, you know, don't be in a rush to like say like, I got to see it all super clearly, right? But it's great that you can notice that, oh, there is a difference between like, I'm aware with thinking and I'm just like lost in the dream. And sometimes there are degrees of it. Like I'm kind of aware that I'm in this thought world. It's like sometimes you're kind of aware you're dreaming, but you're still really kind of believing like that the duck is holding you up or whatever. You know, it's like, give me your wallet. So like, this is a dream, but like, I'm going to give you my wallet. Because like, you know, I don't want to get shot. and so that's sort of like you're kind of a little lucid. And that's different than just like you're like, oh my gosh, look what's appearing. This is like, I could go this way. I could, you know, fly up into the air. I could, you know, what have you. In the dream world, not in real life. Does that make sense?
It does. I'll work on it. Thank you.
Yeah. The most interesting thing is you applying interest and exploring it yourself. That's better than any like instruction.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicholas. Yeah, Nikki. All right. Oh, there was maybe JD put your hand. I don't know if you put your hand down. Let's see.
Oh, I didn't have it up.
Sorry?
It's okay.
Did you put your hand down or?
It's fine.
It's fine. Okay. Luke. Oh, JD, did you have a question though, or no?
Not right now.
You don't. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, Luke, go ahead.
Hey, Will. Oh, it looks like it's pretty dark. Yeah, I guess you sort of also answered my question, but I'll just give you another cut at it. Similar to, I guess it was Michael, whoever went first. There's a kind of thing that I noticed lately on the cushion where there's this sort of pinballing, and it's not like, oh, there's a thought, and then returning to the breath. It's sort of like everything that appears in attention, another thing sort of pings off of it, and there's not really any like settling or resting.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice also times when that isn't happening, and right now my picture is sort of like, well, sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's a week where that's like most of the sits. And then sometimes there's a week where like, nope, I see the first one and I'm like, oh, wow, there's 7 pinballs like ahead. And I'm just going to hang out here instead with the breath or whatever. But I guess I would like to spend more time not like sort of pinballing where I guess it's not a like, oh wow, there's the pinballing. There's any attempt to sort of notice and sort of recognize like, oh, this is happening now. Sort of like again spins off.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if you have thoughts about, you know, similarly with the breath, like, oh, I'm coming back to the breath. Oh wow, and then there's just some sort of again pinballing. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about, sort of facilitating clarity or stability of some kind.
How much have you been practicing?
I guess I started sitting 4 years ago.
And do you sitting retreats, or are you just sitting in daily, or?
I sit every day, and I've been on I went on a 10-day retreat in the fall.
In the fall?
At like between like 15 minutes to an hour a day in the morning.
Yeah. And so this pinballing thing, it's sort of like you're trying to stay with the breathing, but it pinballs. You're not really aware of how it's pinballing, but it's just like you stay for a moment and it goes. Yeah. And what about if you kind of rest in a more open awareness? What happens then? Have you tried that?
Yeah, I have tried that. And I've experienced like a sort of settling back and seeing all of the stuff happening. And then I've also experienced a sort of like really, it's almost like getting lost. Yeah, just really getting lost in sort of particular sensations or parts of experience that have a sort of quality of like being attractors, if that makes sense.
Attractors, yeah.
There's like a couple things in the space of the psyche and the body that sort of the attention like gravitates.
And are they particular things that are repeatedly, those are the things?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is it particular kind of thought content story stuff, or is it more like, you don't have to say specifics if you don't want to.
Yeah, sure. They're sort of like multi-type experiences. They're sort of often like felt experience and thought and associations and stuff.
Yeah. I'll just say something general.
Cool.
You know, I think the important thing So you show up and you sit with whatever happens. Sometimes it feels sort of somewhat, the danger in me putting even the word stability in there is people think it should feel stable.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, that's why it's better not to say anything, but you have to say something. And that's the great bind in teaching. Whatever you say, people will be like, oh, I'm not that stable. You know, Will says stability, that's phase 1. But I'm like, you know, I've been practicing for a while and it's not stable. Everything I say, everything is wrong, basically. But you still have to say things, you know. So forget the stability thing.
Yeah.
Just sitting with how it is. Sometimes it's pinballing. It's just totally crazy, chaotic, and you can't really see it. But you're sitting there, and some part of you knows this as a phenomena. You might not be seeing it in detail, like, oh, I see this one and this one. And it's just like, it kind of relates to Michael's question earlier, I think. It's just like, okay, I'm just going to sit with this being messy. And I don't even know what I'm knowing exactly. There's actually benefit in that. Yeah. So I can tell you, anyway, I see your response.
Yeah.
Do you want to say what?
No, it's funny. It's funny. Like all of that is resonating. There's definitely a like, oh, it's got to be stable. Like, how do I get it to be stable?
Yeah.
And there.
Did you see your hand gesture there?
Yes, it's
yeah.
The
Feel that. So
clinging.
before you put it down, really feel it.
Yeah.
Get used to this feeling. Everybody can try it. So you know what that's like. Exaggerate it. Good. That's really important because, like, you know, we're meditating. We think of something meditative, and then the energy gets like that, and that's just a good hint. You know, it's like, okay, let's just let this shit happen.
Yeah.
You know, just let it go crazy. But can I just be here with it, even in a vague way? You know, let go of the word stability. Nothing is stable. You know, we're going to let go of stability. You just have to say those words to indicate anything. But okay, and in that letting go of stability, there's a kind of a resting or an allowing or an easing of this tension. Yeah. So that's the kind of dance we're in, practice-wise. So that's the thing I'd say.
Cool.
To you.
All right.
Yeah.
That's
Good.
helpful.
Yeah. Welcome. Nice to see you. Okay. Now, let's see. I think that's probably a good, I see there are more questions, but I think that's a good note to end on for now, just because I do want to end on time and I want to respect all of your time as well. And so I do want to say that it's really is lovely to see you all, and I always get to see your names, but now you get to see each other a little bit, and I'm just kind of clicking through a little. Sorry, that's probably annoying, loud. If it's annoying, you can notice, oh, this is annoying. You can apply the practice to it. So just a couple things before we close. Again, just continue. In these meetings, hopefully we're clarifying a little bit the view of practice, right? And just notice that we can talk about where we get stuck and where we take what these instructions and get complicated with them. And we're all doing that. These are simple as this stuff sounds. It is anything but simple when we get in the territory of our own psyche. Right? And I understand that. And it's wonderful that we can kind of be in a group where we can talk about it together. So just again, just a reminder that on Wednesday, and it's in the email, Brett is going to hold this, and Brett is here. Brett, you can say hello. Brett's going to hold this little dialogue group, which I think is a wonderful offering. Thank you, Brett, for that. And yeah, if you're not on the email list, you can sign up for the email list. Okay, and And what else? Oh, and also if you care to donate to support this offering and these offerings in the morning, I thank you for that too. And I think Pulkit will post the links for that. And it's also on the, yeah, there it is. And it's also on our Sangha website. But it is lovely to see you. And I know this is a hard time in many ways. And so it's wonderful that we can meet like this and practice together through it. So let's just sit for a moment and we can kind of have a formal close and little dedication. So may each one of us, and in our own way, continue to look deeply into the nature of things. And not just into the nature of our own mind and body, our own sense of who we are, but also into the nature of our own beingness and awareness. That which is here knowing it all. And may our own clear seeing and clear knowing and the freedom that comes from it, may this benefit not only ourselves, but our near ones and dear ones, our families and communities, and hopefully, by extension, all beings everywhere.